Before starting this video, I do want to give a shout out to my patrons that support the channel. And if you'd like to support the channel, there are some great benefits for you if you want to look at the Patreon link down below. So with that out of the way, let's get into this week's video. What's going on YouTube? This is Devin coming back at you with another video today on PubStomp MTG. Glad to have you here. Today we have a combination of Kroxa and Kunoros. Definitely an unlikely pair because Kroxa wants to escape from the underworld and Kunoros is the guardian of the underworld so that nobody could escape. So this is a pretty fun pairing together. We do have the new version Kroxa and Kunoros right here. This is a very fun team up right here. It is 6 mana in Mardu colors. It's the Elder Giant Dog. It does have those shared abilities with Kunoros with Vigilance, Menace, and Lifelink, and also whenever it attacks or enters the battlefield, you may exile 5 cards from your graveyard. When you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So the game plan is pretty simple with this commander. You want to enter the battlefield and attack so that all your creatures could escape the graveyard to deal some more damage to your opponents. So with this deck tech right here, we're really going to focus on the graveyard. We're going to have a little bit of a self-mill theme and discard theme because we definitely want to make sure that we can use that ability as much as we can without whiffing because it is a May ability. We definitely want a lot of things in the graveyard so that we can satisfy Kroxa's hunger. So we're definitely going to first talk about the self-mill theme. That is very important in this deck because we have to satisfy the 5 exiling cards before we can return a creature card to the battlefield. So a couple suggestions I thought about was Perpetual Timepiece. For 2 mana, we have a great card right here. Tap it and put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. And it does also have a nice ability of paying 2 and exile it and shuffle any number of target cards from your graveyard into your library. This is very important because if we do mill ourselves out, we could have a way so that we can put them into our library so that we don't lose the game. I do also like this new Warhammer card, Out of the Tombs. For 3 mana, we have a great enchantment that will mill us cards consistently, and on top of that, we won't have to lose the game because if we don't have any cards in our library, we could then return a creature card from our graveyard to the battlefield, and of course if we can't, we will lose the game, but most likely that won't happen. Another card I absolutely love in self-mill is Doom Whisperer. This just has a great ability of paying 2 life and surveil 2. No other stipulations, just paying 2 life. You don't have to pay mana into it, so you can do this as many times as you'd like. Definitely a fantastic auto-include, and on top of that, we do have Cemetery Tampering. The big reason why I do like this card is because at the beginning of your upkeep, you may mill 3 cards. It's a May ability as well, so you don't have to mill 3 cards. So this is definitely a great include. Another creature I do like is Angel of Suffering. For 5 mana, we do have an ability, if a damage would be dealt to you, prevent that damage and mill twice that many cards. This is a great card, but I would warn you, this will mill you out if you take a lot of damage, so just be wary of that. I did also want to include Dahada, Binder of Wills. This has a great -3 ability, reveal the top 4 cards of your library, put any number of legendary cards among them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. Create a treasure token for each card put into the graveyard this way. Not only do we want to mill cards, we also want to have some looting abilities. The biggest reason why we do want to have that so we can have some selective discarding. So the term looting does come from Faithless Looting right here. Draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. Essentially you're drawing, then discarding. That's the idea of looting right here. We definitely want to take advantage of that. So another similar card to this, but you get some treasure with it, is Big Score right here. You draw 2 cards, then you create 2 treasure tokens. You'll discard 1 card though. This just provides great value in this deck so that we can get some treasure, draw some cards, and then discard a card we want in the graveyard. I also do like Hostile Negotiations. For 4 mana, we do have an instant. This will provide us some great value. We'll get 3 cards in our hand and 3 cards in the library depending on our opponent's choice of which cards get into our hand or our graveyard. Lastly, I did want to touch base with Nahiri the Unforgiving. I think this is an excellent card in here, mainly because we have that repeatable way where we could discard then draw a card. That's honestly the biggest reason why I do have this in this deck. Plus it does have a nice goat ability and a 0 ability as well, so these are definitely great includes in here for sure for discard. However, if we do want specific cards in the graveyard, there's actually a lot of options we could take advantage of so that we could get a specific creature card from our library into the graveyard. So the first card I did think about was Buried Alive. For 3 mana, we essentially get to search up 3 cards and put them onto the graveyard. So honestly, this is great include right here. If we do want to have a smaller version of that, we do have Unmarked Grave and Entomb. Entomb is very cheap right now, and so that's an excellent pickup range for you if you want to pick it up. These both are fantastic though, because essentially we get to search for a non-legendary card with Unmarked Grave, and with Entomb we have no stipulation of what kind of card we want to put into the graveyard, so we can take advantage of these so much with our commander for sure. If you do want that in creature form, we do have Violent Tumor and Gravebreaker Lamia. Essentially when they enter the battlefield, we can search our library for a card and then put it into the graveyard. What I do like about creature tutors compared to normal tutors is they are reusable. If they are in the graveyard, we can reanimate them to reuse their ability again over and over again. Speaking of reusable, we do have Auric Lore Mage for 4 mana. We do have a tap ability right here. We have a search your library for a card and put it into your graveyard. If it was an instant or sorcery, you could put a 1/1 counter on Auric Lore Mage, but we're not going to worry about that so much. We're definitely going to tap it so that we can search our library for a creature card to put into the graveyard. So you're probably thinking to yourself, what kind of creatures do I want to search for? There's a lot of reanimation targets that we could put into this deck that will definitely take over games. So we're going to kind of put a lot of good stuff creatures on. High CMC though, so there's a cards like Aurelia, the War Leader. So this will just get us an extra combat for our Kroxa so that we can swing in and then get an extra combat trigger so that we could reanimate something else. Great card right here, definitely an auto include in here for sure. But if we do want to inflict some serious damage, we do have Gisela, Blade of Gold Knight. We could double the damage of anything we throw at our opponents, and on top of that, if a source would deal damage to you, it will be halved. This is definitely an absolutely disgusting card, especially with our commander, because our commander does have lifelink. We do also have some sweet demons to reanimate, like Rune-Scarred Demon and Burning Rune Demon. We could tutor a card with Rune-Scarred Demon, but with Burning Rune Demon, this is absolutely incredible right here. We can search our library for 2 cards. Our opponent will have to pick one of them to go into our hand and one into the graveyard. Of course, they're probably thinking to themselves, I don't want to put one into the graveyard because they might reanimate it. So either way, it's going to be a win-win for us with Burning Rune Demon. Absolutely a fantastic include in here. Also, another big effect we do have is Archon of Cruelty. When it enters the battlefield or if it attacks, target opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker, discards a card, lose 3 life, you draw a card, and gain 3 life. This just has a crazy big effect that I absolutely love with big beefy creatures, so this is a great include too. Another card I absolutely do love in my Reanimate decks is Villas Broker of Blood. This is honestly so great. You could pay a mana, pay 2 life, target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn, so great removal. But on top of that, whenever you lose life, you draw that many cards. The life loss is not going to be a big factor into this deck because Kroxa does have lifelink, so this is going to be a great card to draw a lot of cards and get some removal in the board. So let's go over the combo of the deck. You don't have to put this in here. This is just something I suggest if you want to close out the game. So we do have this fun combo with Kroxa, Titan of Death's Hunger, and we're also going to be using Solemnity and Luminous Broodmoth. So in order for this combo to work, we do have to have Solemnity on the battlefield and Luminous Broodmoth. Because creatures can't get counters, Luminous Broodmoth's ability will be shut down with having flying counters put on creatures that died and that were returned to the battlefield. So what you will do is you'll play Kroxa from your hand, and because it didn't escape, you'll have to sacrifice it. Luminous Broodmoth will return it to the battlefield. Because of Solemnity, Kroxa won't get a flying counter, and then Kroxa, because it didn't escape, it'll go back to the graveyard, and then this trigger will happen over and over again because Luminous Broodmoth and the ability of not giving it a flying counter because of Solemnity. So this will then force a chain reaction where Kroxa will enter the battlefield, each opponent will have to discard a card, and then each opponent who didn't discard a card or a non-land card this turn loses 3 life. So this will happen over and over again until your opponents are dead. I love this combo in here, and it's perfect because Kroxa is the commander and Kunoros, of course, but this is really using the other Kroxa right here so that we could win the game. So very flavorful right there. However, that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and watching this video on this new version of Kroxa and Kunoros. This does look like a very fun commander in my opinion with the reanimation spells, but honestly you do have to focus around it because you definitely need the cards in the graveyard so that you could reanimate targets. Let me know down below, what are your thoughts and opinions about this new version of Kroxa and Kunoros? Do you feel like it's busted? Do you feel like it's just fair? Let me know down below in the comments. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and with that out of the way, thank you for stopping by.